Hi guys, welcome back. Thanks for stopping by today. My name's April, and today we're doing probably my last craft for St. Valentine's Day. And since it is St. Valentine's Day, I wanted to bring a little bit of the St. Valentine into my project. So it's a fairly easy Dollar Tree craft, and I've got a really neat candle hack for you. So let's get started.
DIY number 1. So this project starts with one of these wire word love frames from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be making a back for it. So I'm using a piece of poster board and I'm just tracing around the word, and then I'm going to cut that out using my scissors. For now, I'm leaving all of the letters connected. When I go to assemble the project at the end, I do cut them apart, but it just seemed easier to work with it as one piece in the beginning. And to get the center of the O out, I just poked a hole in it with my scissors and then cut around the inside. It was really hard to see that on my white work surface, so I put a piece of cardstock behind it just so you could see what I'm doing. But what I am doing is taking some of the small roses from the Dollar Tree, and it was a bush that had 2 different colors on it. So I pulled it apart and I'm just using the buds. I'm clipping off the back, the stem part really close to the edge of the flower, and then I'm just gluing those onto the cardboard that I cut out. Not cardboard, poster board. So I did the L in the lighter color, and now I'm going in and I'm doing the E in the darker, and it's a little bit of a kind of pinky peach color. A little bit different for Valentine's Day, but still in the pink family. And I want this to have kind of an ombre effect. So what I'm going to do for the O and the V is deconstruct these flowers. So I'm starting with the colored one, the peach one, and I am just pulling those apart. And if you've never taken a flower apart, it's really simple. These have 3 different size petals, and there's a couple little plastic pieces in there, and I'm just throwing those away. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the white ones and I'm going to put one of the pink parts into the very center, and then I'm going to take off one of the white petals and replace it with a pink one. So I've got mostly white with just some pink in it. And then I'm going to do that. I think I had about 6 flowers on each of the letters. So I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm taking a white flower, I'm putting one of the pink middles into it, removing one of the white large petals, and putting a pink one. And then I clip off the stem, put some hot glue on it, and repeat until the O is covered. Like I said, I think I used about 6 flowers on each of the letters except for the E. It took a little bit more, but in total I only had 2 bushes of these and it was enough. Alright, so there you can see how the O is just slightly pinker than the L. So now I'm going to work on the V, and for the V I'm doing the opposite. So for the V I'm deconstructing the white flowers and sort them into the 3 different size of petals. There was a large one that had maybe 3 petals on it, and then there's kind of a middle one that has 4, and then the small ones which are just the buds. And then I'm going to take apart one of the pink flowers, leaving just the very top one, very top petal. I add a white one, I put the pink ones back on, There's a little plastic piece that keeps the flower together. Add another white one, and then more of the pink. So this flower ends up being mostly pink with just a little bit of white. Kind of the opposite of what we did with the flowers on the O. And I'm going to do that until I have enough flowers to cover up my V. So here it is again. I'm taking it apart. There's the petals. There's a little plastic basket. There's some more petals. And then I'm adding a white one, putting the pink petals back on. And there you can see kind of a side by side of the variation. After I've got 6 or so flowers, I'm going to do the same process, cut off the stem, hot glue it down to the poster board. And you can see changing those petals out, it's not a huge difference, but it is just enough to make it look a little bit ombre. So now I've got the wire form again, and I am using my scissors here just to help me poke all of the flowers into that frame. It's almost like they're caged. And this wasn't hard. It did take a little bit of poking, and I just lifted up the edge just a little bit to see if the petals were all in there, and just keep poking them in. This also helped, especially on that E, to give it more definition. There's what it looks like. And now I'm going to take my hot glue, and I am just gluing the poster board down to the edge of the wire frame. And this is where I started to cut the poster board letters apart. So I trim any that hung over. Just kind of lift the flowers up and check. More glue if it was needed. And then cutting them apart helped me be able to move them around a little bit. And there I've got my Cricut tweezers. They kind of got into some of those smaller spots where my scissors didn't fit. Sorry, a little bit out of the frame there, but sorry about that. So the basic idea on this is you just don't want any of the poster board to show from the front. So now that it's all done, I'm just kind of tucking them in. The E just seems so much bigger than some of the other letters to me, but I took a couple of extra petals and tucked them in here and there. I didn't even glue them. I just stuck them in there. So now I want a base for this sign, so I'm using one of these Dollar Tree plaques, and this was one that I picked up probably at Halloween, I guess, Day of the Dead. And I have this St. Valentine medal, but it's silver, and I didn't want silver, I wanted it to be gold. So I'm using a fan brush and a very light touch to paint this medal. And it is a metal medal, but I wanted the design to show up. It's got, you know, it says St. Valentine, it says pray for us on the back, and his image there. So I just used that fan brush very lightly to wisp over that. And then I'm using Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster to paint the sign. And you saw how bright that sign was. And this chalk paint, I probably could have gotten away with just one coat because I am going to put some color on it, but I did 2 coats. And now I'm trying to find the color that I like. So I started with this pink acrylic paint, and it was too pink, so I got another color of pink, and I decided it was too pink. So then I got pink and some peach, and I'm mixing it together there. And I decided it was still too pink, so I got out my orange and I mixed the orange in with those other ones, and now I've got a color that is close enough to those flowers that I felt like it coordinated well. So I'm painting the whole sign base, I'm painting the whole base in this color. That's one of the great things about when you do it yourself. You can mix your paint to make whatever color you want. And while the paint is still wet, I'm using some of that gold, and I'm just kind of brushing in there, and I'm putting some white. So it's not, sometimes when we paint it all one color, it looks a little flat. So this is just giving it a little bit of dimension. And then I'm going to put that aside to dry. Now I'm taking this is edge binding for rugs that I just happen to have left over from another project. So I am folding it in half just to make a stripe that I'm going to use it as a ribbon. I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but my cat has found a box and has decided now's the time to get in it. So anyway, I am gluing that to make a more narrow ribbon. And then I'm using another piece of that edge binding to make what I call a Hello Kitty bow. These kind of bows remind me of the bows that Hello Kitty has on her head. So I just folded it into a bow shape and kind of cinched in the middle. I used a zip tie. And then I'm going to glue my St. Valentine medal to the middle of that bow. And I left the hanger on the medal to paint it because it was easy to hold on to, but I am going to cut that off now. And then I'm going to, there's the piece. You can see now it doesn't have a top, it's just an oval. So I'm going to kind of round that up a little bit. And then I'm going to go back in with some of that gold paint and just touch up where the silver showed through after I cut it. And I don't know if you guys know much about St. Valentine, but he was a real man. We don't know a lot about him because he lived like in the 3rd century or something, but he was a Roman priest, and there's a lot of legends surrounding him. Probably the most popular one is that he married Christians in a time when it was illegal to be Christian. Another one said that he, when he was in jail because he was marrying Christians, so he was going to be executed, and the jailer brought his daughter to him, and Saint Valentine healed her. She was blind, and Saint Valentine healed her sight. And on the day of his execution, he left her a note that was signed, "Your Valentine." And that's kind of where the card tradition comes from. But he is the patron saint of lovers, so that's why he gets his own special feast day. So now you can see that edge binding that I folded in half. I'm just wrapping around that base and securing it with hot glue. And then I'm going to glue the bow that I made right onto the edge there. And then I'm going to take our love sign that we made, and just to give it a little bit more stability, I'm going to take 2 of the tumbling tower blocks and glue them so that they will set flat. I'm just gluing one onto the L and one onto the E. There just wasn't a lot of real estate down there to get my glue on, so I glued those blocks on there, and then I'm going to put some glue on that and glue it onto our base. And I'm going to go back in with a little more glue and just kind of run it on those edges just to make sure. And that's it. So here is our sign all finished. DIY number 2. This is a real simple one. So this is some tissue paper that I got at the Dollar Tree. And I don't know if you would call this a chevron or a herringbone. I'm not sure what it is, but it is metallic gold. I just thought it was pretty. So I'm going to take it and wrap it around this candle. I think the candle maybe came from Walmart. I'm not sure. So it's any candle you have will work. And then I'm using my heat gun through the tissue paper to heat the wax up. And as it heats, you'll notice it does change color slightly, so you can kind of see which parts you've done and which parts you haven't. This is very similar to what I did at Halloween with the saint candles, although on those I printed my own tissue paper. So if you want to go back and see that, I'll try and link that video in the description. And then I'm trimming around the edge, and on the top there was a lot, so I'm just going to cut that off too and heat it up. And I'm going to just use my fingers to kind of push it in and round it over at the top. And then this is my little trick. So I don't know if you should burn a candle that has paper on the outside, but I decided I didn't want to. So I took a battery operated tea light and I'm basically carving out a hole for it. I traced around it so I knew how big to make it, and I'm using my utility knife just to go in there and score the wax and then kind of dig it out. And I'm dumping my extra into an old candle jar, and I can melt that down later and use it for another project. Now I will tell you, when I heated the candle up to put the paper on the outside, my candle cracked a little bit, and I don't know if that's because it was cold. My candle was cold. I had it outside. That's where I store my stuff, in our sunroom, which is not heated. And so it may have just been because the candle wax was so cold to begin with. But if you find that yours does that, just hold on to it, like keep pressure on it as you're carving it out, and you should be fine. So I just continue carving it out, and every once in a while I put the candle in there to see if I've got it where I want it. I just want to make sure that it's deep enough. I don't really want to see the battery part of the light. So here's the finished product. And there is our love sign. And then you can see the candle lit in the background. I like it. So I hope you all have a wonderful St. Valentine's Day. Enjoy it this year. It is before Lent happens, so go ahead and indulge in all the chocolate and goodies that you want to before Lent happens. And just know that I'm praying for you guys, and I hope God continues to keep you healthy, and God bless you and your family. We'll see you next time.